Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 7th, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the philosophies I personally guide my own life by. Now, before I go any further, and before we get into this idea, this issue of how important dreams are to your world, let's take a look at the reality of it. Whoop, that is not what I wanted. Let's take a look at the reality of it. Before we go there, though, and of course I forgot to get that all turned around, so what the heck. We have Adam Lakatos is in the room with the gold. And then we have Eternity Eternal is in with the silver, followed by Philip Blair coming in with bronze. And then we have Carlito, the gray alien, has shown up with honorable mention. Now, thank you so much, guys. Before we get underway, let's get that dealt with to start with. Now, where am I looking at here? And of course, I'm looking at this. Let's refresh that and see if I can get the screen up so I can see it. There we are. That one. Bonus. Okay, now I can read what's coming up. Yeah, Adam's going, burning the wind tonight and making good time. Should be in Edmonton around 9 or so. Nice run. Now, here's the neat thing about dreams. Now, am I a real proficient dream interpreter? Not by the book. Okay. I will tell you, I've always done my dream interpretation has always been done on instinct, which is really kind of an interesting setup. That said, that has no bearing on how important dreams are and what they can tell you. With this in mind, there is something referred to as lucid dreaming. I'm just going to make one comment before I get into that topic. Okay. If you have a question, doesn't matter what the field. If you've got a question, pop it up in the chat room. I will do my best to get a look at it. Okay, and subsequently give you an answer. And remember, when you're posting a question in the chat room, be certain to put it in all caps, or at least partially caps, or wavy signs, wavy hand, something to show me that you're trying to get my attention. It's not called yelling in this room. Okay, and for those of you that are coming in and you're noticing this cross chatter in the room, this is not trolling. This is the way this room runs. Because I'll tell you, and I encourage it to run that way, quite frankly. The reality of it is, this is how we start getting people to work together. Joe, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is, I have been doing my best to get things sorted around. And, I don't know what's going on. Because obviously I'm not hitting the right note. Because we were up at 510. We are down to 505 subscribers. Okay. Why it's going down, I don't know. Okay. And that maybe you guys can give me an idea on. I am trying to get short videos up. But unfortunately, the program I've been using has played havoc with the few that I have put up. You can't hear them. Going live, I can do fine. And what I may end up taking to for a little bit is going and like posting a little more in the social media. Right. Let's see what we got here. That's top chat. I want that live. That way I can see what the other ones are going on. The difficult part for me is figuring out just where that turn point is that will get people's attention. Okay. Don't know exactly where that is yet, but working on it. One day I'll remember to get the room set up properly first. But I have got, by the way, for those of you, for when somebody actually asks for a list of the books that I've got now, I've actually got a sheet that I can email out or mail out for that matter. Okay, that will solve that problem. Now, what do we got here? Carlito. Yeah, Carlito goes, I actually had a dream. Well, didn't feel like a dream, where a gray alien gave me a booster shot in my knee. Woke up a little sore, too. Oh, let me ask you this, there, Carlito. Have you been, even in your mind, sending out a message that you'd like the knee, that you'd like help with the knee, and that the modern doctors are, to say the least, not living up to standards? Has that thought been going through your mind? And the reason I ask that is this: odds are it wasn't a dream. Of course, the other neat little question is, when you woke up, yes, you were in a little bit of pain, but did the knee hurt as much as it did the night before? In all likelihood, it wasn't. You probably, and this will sort of come clear within the next couple of days. But watch how much the knee hurt, what the knee feels like now that you've had that little intervention, as compared to what it felt like before. What you may find is that you've had a lot more help than you think. And by the way, I wouldn't necessarily call that a booster. Now, I need to get a little bit of airflow here. That's just the way that is. I don't have paper on the table right now, so I don't have to worry about it too much. Don't know what the temperature is in here, but I'll tell you the temperature feels like it's right off the charts. Now, the nice part about it, okay, with it being the Greys, well, let's face it, you've been dealing with them for a while, and it's not unheard of. The funny part about it is I'm finding, and this is something I found with the metaphysical world a long time ago, and that is that when people are dealing with me, if they're even remotely gifted, it tends to accelerate. Now, I'm starting to suspect that the same thing is going to happen regarding interactions with off-worlders. For me, it's just plain a way of life. For you, it may come as a bit of a shock. But shock does not necessarily mean bad. Henry, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. I am trying to figure out just exactly where people, and if you would be kind enough, guys, because what I'm trying to do is build a situation that will benefit as many people as possible. Now, I've watched society go for a very long time, and it is continuing to slide. But here's the neat little crossover for you where it comes to a dream. Okay, you have a dream. Now, most people go, dreams are in the fantasy world. It's make believe or it's a message from beyond, but that's not always the case. Okay, something you got to remember about dreams: dreams are where reality starts. You can turn around and dream of accomplishing something. Now, you can sit and wait for the right time for that to happen, or you can turn around and make it happen. Now, I very briefly touched on the idea of lucid dreaming. And here's the problem with lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is the ability, when you're in a dreamscape, to control what is going on in the dreamscape. You can learn to do this. Do I do it myself? No. And I strongly urge you not to learn how. Okay? Because I will tell you, the moment you take dominant control of your dreams, the purpose of dreaming goes out the window. Because what the dreams and what dreaming is your higher self or your subconscious trying to pass on a message about what you've been through or what's coming up. Because let's not forget, you undoubtedly live in linear time. In other words, yesterday, today, and tomorrow are 3 different times. Okay. Dreams don't take into consideration time too terribly well, but there are ways of getting markers. Okay. Now, lucid dreaming means you control what's happening. Now, much as that's great as far as avoiding nightmares, it completely eradicates the use of dreams bringing you a warning. Just completely writes it off. But there are some things that just stand to reason. Okay. Whatever emotion is brought about by your dreams is the thing to really look at. Okay. You gotta remember, dreams are not very often literal. I have had a couple that are literal, but most of the dreams people have are literally what's the word I'm looking for? Referential, they're circumstantial. They don't tell you clearly what's happening, but they will give you a clear time frame. Okay. For instance, if you're having a dream, in this case, you're having a dream about, well, it may not be a dream. You're dreaming of aliens, aka unidentified individuals surrounding you, essentially blocking off your free movement. Okay. Now, this could be something that's coming up. Okay. Because you've got all sorts of things that happen in Dreamscape. But when you're surrounded by unknown people, more often than not, this is because you're coming up upon a point in your life where you're going to have to take dominant control of where you're heading. Okay. Now, the fact of grays is it's very easy, especially if you're thinking heavily about the alien worlds. Okay. If your mind is constantly dwelling on them, then yes, your subconscious will pick that up and utilize that information as well. This is why you take a look at the way a dream feels, not necessarily what it shows. Okay. Because if it feels real, and the more senses you have involved in said dream, the more likely it is to be real. But when you concentrate on it, you look at the feeling. And this is why I tell you, if when you're sleeping, you wake up and you've got a dream in your head, I was dreaming about whatever. Do not wait to write it down later. Okay. Write down what you can of the dream, the date, the time you woke up, and even if all you remember dreaming about is that you were running or that you were surrounded by people, okay, or in this case, that you remember being surrounded by gray aliens, by the Zeta Reticuli. Okay, write it down immediately because I will tell you, inside 10 minutes, the odds are you're going to forget a chunk of it. Okay, the easiest part there, Joe. Giving consent is literally done through. It's literally done through your mind. Okay, and before I get locked up there, I'm just gonna have to make sure that I don't let it go very far. There we go. Okay, the easiest way to do it, Joe, is when you're crawling into bed. You can start off the dream quite literally by dreaming, by visualizing yourself in that kind of an environment. Don't worry about the exact woman, okay? But set yourself where you're thinking about that kind of a dream, okay? that in and of itself will open the door for that to happen, and your subconscious will work with it. Because don't, friend, like I said, quite often, and like dreams are your body's way of getting getting away from the real chaos that's going on. It is a way of expending energy, of releasing tension. And I will tell you this, if you're looking for explicit dreams, as any adult knows, well, any adult that's been in that position, that's an excellent way to burn off stress. Okay. Can it be done in your dreamscape? Absolutely. I've seen relationships built in the dreamscape. But that's the easiest way to give permission, to give consent. So hopefully that will help there, Joe. Yeah, I mean, the reality from my standpoint is pretty simple. Okay. You've given a lot of ideas on different topics to come up with, to work with. And that's very, very greatly appreciated. I was in again in YouTube today to double check the messages. And hopefully nobody left any because I didn't see any. But that's the easiest way to give permission. Okay, is get your mind set that that's the kind of thing you're looking for before you go to bed. That will open the door for it and sure stacks the deck in your favor. LA, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yeah, Henry's going. I recently had a dream involving Dave, despite the fact I've never met him. Well, quite honestly, where it comes to dreaming about meeting people, that is one of those things that the mind is going, that's something I really desire to do. And let's face it there, Henry, you've got a lot of intention built up on the idea of getting to see him. That's just one of those things that your mind will go, okay, yes, it's possible. Now, here's the neat little part. I mentioned that dreams provide a time frame. Okay. And the way a time frame comes up is this. You get the first dream. And let's look at it this way. Okay. If you're looking at a precognitive dream, in other words, a dream that is revealing to you something that's coming. Okay. The first dream gives you a marker. That's all it does. It gives you a starting point. Okay. The second dream of a similar ilk, when it comes, and this is why you write them down so you can remember them. Yeah, LA, that what I'm just starting to lay out is more often than not what we call a precognitive dream. Now, sometimes a wish dream will generate a precognitive one. Okay, and what I mean by that, the first dream of that ilk, in this case, the first dream of meeting Dave. Okay, mark down the day and the time you had it. Okay, the second dream, maybe months down the road. Okay, but this is why you write them down. It's because once you write them down, you've got a record. Okay. You've got a record because you get the first point on the first one. The second one is a marker. Okay. It's the third dream that gives you the time frame. And here's how that works. You start with the first one, and let's say the second one is 2 weeks down the road. Okay. The second one is the same kind of idea where, for instance, you met Dave, only this time you ended up going for coffee. You didn't just meet him. Okay. And that happens 2 weeks down the road. And then the next one is, let's say, 10 days down the road. So a week and a half. Okay. Odds are what you got now is a rough gauge. Because you go the 2 weeks, 10 days, 7 days. You're dropping 3 days. Okay, the odds are that, and that's simple graphing. Okay, with simple graphing, you go, okay, it was up here and it's coming down, and by simply connecting those three lines, you can figure out about when it's coming in. Now, do not forget, where it comes to transition from physical world to real world, you have control over whether you let it happen. And this is a thing most people forget about. Of course, most of us are told once you have a dream, that's the way it is. But this is not the reality behind it, at least not from what I've seen. And understand, I've got well over 100,000 clients under my belt. And yes, by the way, I did just start sending out. I just sent out a few of the letters that have to go to people that I know of. Okay, that I'm trying to that I'm setting things up. Emitunga, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So I am opening the door now to go into doing actual, the actual going back into psychic consulting. Okay, not exactly where I was planning on going, but it is something I have been doing for a long time. Okay, and what we're looking at this point, where you've got dreams where they are precognitive, you'll start seeing dreams that happen in sequence. You'll start seeing, you see one of one particular type, and then a couple of weeks later you have another dream of it. But you write them down as soon as you have them, so you don't have to try and figure it out later. Okay. Now, the neat little part about it is when we're talking about dreams, okay, about wish dreams. A wishful dream is something you take direct control over, not the dream side of it. Okay, give you a prime example. Okay, I was handed a real solid image the other day through Dreamscape. I've talked to you guys about it. I said I'm going to build an empire. I'm going to build a publishing company that people can utilize. Okay, that people can use. And do I have every intention? And this is going to sound real egocentric on my part. Okay, do I have every intention on replacing some of the bigger people, some of the bigger players? Yeah, because they're not doing their job properly, not in my eyes. Okay, I intend to take a look at what they're doing and go, okay, that's not working anymore. We have to reclaim power over our own lives. Now, wishful dream, you get an image in your head. Okay, again, when you wake up, write it down in as much detail as you can. A lot of my planning I do while I'm asleep. Okay, and this is how I, in all fairness, that was literally how I came up with the marketing, with the not rebate, but with the plan to actually pay for word of mouth advertising. I'm tripping over my words in case you hadn't noticed. I actually woke up with that one day. Woke up with the whole algorithm laid out. Sat down and wrote it out and went, that's way too easy. So I calculated out. I spent a couple of days working on it. Spent a couple of days working on it and then put it to paper. Okay, and had it checked out. It is what I'm working on. As a matter of fact, we're on the 7th. So depending on how my day goes, depending on how my month, the rest of my month goes, I will be putting the stuff to use that I've already talked about. But I've got this wonderful. Now let me ask you this, guys, and this applies to any one of you, because let's touch on this idea of wishful dreams. Okay, let's build on that a little, shall we? Who here has a dream that you would love to, that you think you would like to enjoy or like to experience, that you haven't accomplished yet, or at least haven't accomplished to the level that you really desire it to go. Now, the reason I'm asking is because we're going to work with the people that pipe up, and in these live streams, we're going to see what we can do about keeping you guys organized, keeping you motivated to accomplish your own dreams. Okay. Now, I will tell you, it takes work on your part. I can hand out all the tools that I desire. Okay, I can hand out all the tools that you ask for. But if you don't pick them up, they're not going to happen. Now, lucid dreaming boils down to a dream comes in, you change it, so you don't get the message at all. Okay, and this is why I say lucid dreaming is a bad idea, in my opinion. Okay, lucid dreaming is one of these things that takes away the usefulness of the insight that the dreams can bring in the first place. So, when you have a dream, do your best, even if you're capable of lucid dreaming, especially if you're capable of it, do your best to let your mind go where it will. Okay, but no matter what the dream, no matter what the experience, if you feel it wasn't necessarily a dream, write it down anyway. Okay, and while I'm talking like this, I'm going like, okay, here we are. I'm now playing the piano really poorly. But I did take lessons a long time ago. Didn't like the instructor and dropped it. Your dreams, no matter whether they are a dream, a lucid dream, a wishful dream, or simply thoughts that you've been hanging on to. And I will warn you, this is one of the reasons why going to bed mad is a bad idea. Because if you're going to bed mad, your brain is already locked onto that anger. Okay, and that's where the dream will possibly go. By the way, dreaming of murder does not mean you're going to physically kill somebody. Okay, it does tend to indicate that you finally reached a point where you're no longer interested in doing things the way you're expected to. They absolutely can, Joe. Joe's just adding here, explicit dreams can also result in a stressful lifestyle that can make them more wild. Yes. And this is why you have to really look at what you're dreaming, because dreams will translate into the physical world if you let them. Okay. I mean, it's pretty sad in my case. I have very volatile dreams at night. Okay, now I'm a pacifist, but my stress level tends to result in very volatile dreams. I don't call them nightmares, I call them body counts. Okay, but it is up to you whether you're going to act on them. It is up to you whether you're going to let that stress create the problem or relieve it. But that's a choice that you make consciously. This is one of the advantages of writing your dreams down, is you get to have a clear indication of what's going on, because you got an immediate tracking of it. You don't worry about whether it's perfect, because it won't be. And this is why I said, not no likelihood. This is why I said, when you have a dream, even if all you remember is that you were writing and that you were running, write down that you remember you were running. You may not know what you were running from, but that may come later. Okay, I've seen it happen where someone will dream about running, and a couple of weeks later, now they dream about an image behind them, and they go, it was something bipedal. Okay, it may take a couple of dreams to get all the images together, but if you're writing them down, then when you see one that makes sense, if you see one that you remember, you can go back and fill in a little. That will help you pull the whole thing together. Now, LA is going, I've read where a body is stressed before dreaming. It can cause some really strange dreams too. Absolutely. And that's why I say the real question is, are you dreaming because you're stressed? So, in other words, is the stress causing the dream? Or is the dream causing the stress? And this is something that is sorted out on um, a dream by dream basis. But it is something that can be worked with. Now, of course, quite on, like, there's a lot of times, and here's one that is it's just flat out. This seems to be the standard no matter who you are. If you have ever dreamed of flying around the neighborhood without any form of aerial conveyance, okay, like for instance, you're not in a hot air balloon, you're not paragliding, you're not in a helicopter or an airplane, you're doing the Superman thing. 9 times out of 10, that is a dream. That is more an astral travel, an astral trip, than it is an actual dream. And this is where things get to be a little screwy on occasion. Oh, that's always neat. Emmy's going. I dream about rats all the time. I pick them up and save them, putting them in my pockets. Rats are, bar none, they are a very inquisitive very inquisitive image. Okay, and what they're telling you is that you've got a curiosity streak that is absolutely insane. Okay, work with it because they will bring. The other thing rats do is they bring little messages from some of the weirdest places. Okay, and in all fairness, rats and mice do pretty much the same thing. So when you're dreaming about rats, yeah, you definitely have a solid connection. But I will tell you, it's not just with rats. Your connection, in all fairness, Emmy, is likely very strongly connected to the planet itself. Yeah, LA goes, hence the little mouse in your pocket. Got a question for you there, Emmy. And it just seems to come to me this way. But do you actually have pet rats at home, as in you're raising them, caring for them, that sort of thing? Lord knows I did when I was still with the ex. But then we ended up having a lot of weird animals on occasion. But no, when you're dreaming about rats, you're dealing about intricacies, about new information, and a very definite connection to the natural world. Okay, I'd lay odds you're quite comfortable out in the wilds amongst the, not necessarily out in the bush, but out dealing with the smaller animals. You know, so I mean, when you look at that, this is just one of those things dreams will work with. But pay attention to the dreams. Quite often, and this is where I find a bit of a flaw with the books. If you're dreaming about rats, the first thing you have to ask is, what does a rat mean to you? That's the first thing you look at when you're interpreting anything. What is the significance of a rat to you? My mom was absolutely terrified of rats. Okay, but then they used to crawl down the inside of her walls. Actually, they used to climb down the inside of the building. When she was a kid. But write down the dreams themselves. This will help you formulate. Now, I had a girlfriend at one point that literally told me that I don't use gaming for gaming, I use it for planning. I do the same thing with dreams. And hence the difference. Okay, if you see rats as a problem, then then the bigger the rat, the bigger the problem. If you see rats as a boon, as a benefit, or as a friend, the bigger the rat, the more support you're dealing with. Okay, but I will tell you, when you're dealing with cats, you're now dealing with a very definitive psychic link and a very driven, intuitive side. Now, of course, what this tells me right off the bat with you, LA, is when you're dreaming about rats and mice, you've got a problem you're dealing with. Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Whatever the problem you're dealing with, you will instinctively know how to sort it out, how to get past the problem. Okay. Oh, by the way, guys, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and do me a favor and share the daylights out of it. And I'm probably going to mention this again. Matter of fact, it's pretty much a certainty. Minimize that. Let's pull up this other thing. That one. It's on the wrong side, of course. Because tonight being the 7th of July, and much more importantly, the first Friday of the month, this is where I'm going to be as of 9 o'clock tonight. This is the link to Dave's show. Guys, we are going back on the air with him. Like I said, we are now over the 8-year mark. I'm pretty certain we started in March, which means we're starting to push close to 8.5. But that's for down the road. But where we talk about dreams, again, lucid dreaming is when you are literally taking control of your dreams and deciding how they're going to play out. This is, in my opinion, very detrimental in trying to understand what the dreams are saying in the first place. Now, when we're talking about planning dreams, as in here's a way of making things happen. Okay, I got shown the other day. I talk about this idea of I'm going to build an empire. And I am. But I'm using the term empire because it's one that people understand. I am going to build, and I'm starting to have dreams like this that fill in details for me. And this is why I'm saying when you've got something, write it down. Oh, this is something, Carl's just brought something up that's very important here, at least from my standpoint. I did decide on something that I am doing with the newsletter. The next one coming out, not only am I going to be including some of the information, a real tiny synopsis of the different races in the newsletter, because there's a section in the newsletter for the alien side of things. But I am going to include some of the one race an issue, complete with a picture. Okay. Emmy's just come back with I have 11 pet rats. I take them and tame them when nobody else can. They call me the rat whisperer. I've had this all my life. I just can't I just can't live without them. I understand entirely what you're getting at. I used to love dealing with the little rats. They are like when I was with my ex, we only had 2 at a time. Of course, in all fairness and in all deference to the rats, we also had 5 cats at that time. So you kind of got to weigh out the odds. But no, with the newsletter, not only will I be including the information on one race at a time, I just haven't figured out. Actually, I think, what if I've actually got it up? Where are we? August. Okay, we pulled that up so I can actually get a look at it. And the August newsletter, we go up here. And yes, in the August edition, how we doing, Derek? Glad to see you. Glad to see you here. In the August edition, I am going to have a very small synopsis on the Zeta Reticulum. There is more information in the book than what I will include here. But what I will make certain I do is include a picture of them, which will be the same picture, albeit smaller, but the same picture that's going to be in the Race of the Worlds. You know, with that in mind, again, if you're interested in the newsletter itself, make sure I get either your email address or your physical one. If you want email or you desire hard copy, doesn't matter. I'm still running it free of charge. It's just the way it's going to go. But when we take a look at dreams, one of the very important factors that we really have to take a look at, okay, that you really have to take a look at, is once you've had a dream, especially if you're feeling really compelled to follow down that road, I strongly urge you to get up and actually start going down that road. Carl goes, my Chinese sign is the rat. I'm very clean and eat anything. And probably curious as all get out. That could have come out differently. But no, when you come out of a dream, whoop. Carlito's going, any tips to see aliens besides in dreams? One thing I will now, the aliens themselves are going to be a little bit of an issue, but seeing the craft is the easy part. Okay, so many people look at the sky, and this is why you're hearing of more and more reports. But when you look at the sky, so many people are going, I desire to see a ship. Something that I cannot quite explain. Okay, and what you do is watch it works really well on a cloudless night. As we can see, I'm having trouble with my mouth, but works really well on a cloudless night. Watch the Starfield, and if you're watching and you see stars in sequence, like let me put it this way, you've got a star here. Okay, and it blinks out and then comes back. Okay, watch for a cluster of stars doing that. Cowie, how you doing? Not a problem with the being late. We'll put you in detention later. I don't personally know much about Chinese astrology, but I am starting to point out the hiccups. I suspect there are similar ones in Chinese that I found in Western, but I don't know enough about Chinese to go there. But when you're looking at the sky, if you see about a cluster of stars and they are blinking out on one end, and then a few moments later they pop back in at the same time frame, you're likely looking, well, you're almost definitely looking at something. I gotta learn to stop and think before I answer that. If you're seeing the stars disappear one at a time and reappear at the same pace, what you're looking at is you've got something in the air that is blocking your view. Now, do not forget, if you live in a rural area, you may be seeing a bat. Okay, because just because you don't identify it does not mean it's an alien ship. Oh, it's definitely a little more involved. Okay. The reality is, if we were trying to put in LA's going, it's a little more involved. It's a lot more involved. Okay. The reality of it is that is there a way to really draw the aliens to you? Not that I'm aware of. There's a lot of people that have claimed to be able to. See, now, as far as I understand there, Carl, that was the year I was born, was the year of the rabbit. But as far as I've been able to verify, this idea of being able to draw the aliens to you by design on your part. I've yet to see any quantifiable proof that I can look at, even circumstantial quantifiable, okay, that says people are making this happen. I know a lot of people are claiming it. You know, I know a lot of people say I call them to me, but the methods they're talking about using don't add up. And the one thing I will tell you that I did agree with that chap that I listened to the other day is that when you're looking at evidence, you've got to look at something that is quantifiable from at least an internally consistent method. Okay. But when it comes to dreams are a very complicated setup because each dream will mean something different. If I dream about a frisbee, okay, it may not mean the same thing that you dream about a frisbee or sports equipment, for instance. Not always will it be just that specific item. And this is what you got to be careful of, is that we're not talking about a specific item. When you're talking about aliens, more often than not, you really are. Basically, very true there, Carl. And this is something that we have to look at. The world is changing right before your eyes. The question is, are you going to adapt to it, or are you going to be run over by it? That's your call. Now, I can tell you that from everything I've seen, the whole idea of fearing, the future doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, I don't fear the future, but I will tell you the path it's on is not a real stable one. To give you an idea how that works, from your from your standpoint, if you've got a goal that you would like to attain, okay, if you've got a goal that you would like to attain, and you don't know how to get started, that is relatively easy, but it has to be tailor-made to the individual. Okay. How we doing, Terry? Glad you could join us. Now, where it comes to waking dreams, I don't blame you, Henry. Henry's just going, I'm not afraid, I'm frustrated. Thing is, I look back over time. Egypt, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, Manoah, the Black Plague. People went down these roads. They've all gone, you guys have gone down this road before. Now, obviously, not your lifetime. At least not this one. Okay. But what I'm seeing is the same patterns being repeated over and over again. Okay. But we do have the capacity to change that. The problem is it requires standing up and going, I'm changing it. Joe, two things can be happening if you're actually hearing voices. Technically, three. If you go to a clinician, they may just tell you you're losing your mind. But the reality of it is that there are three ways that it may be making sense. Number one, if your telepathic ability, which is a natural ability, it's a natural evolutionary step. If that is kicking into gear, you'll hear voices, but what you're hearing is other people's thoughts. You may be tapping in on a subconscious level to the mediumship world. Okay. And with that in mind, you're now looking at precognitive hearing. You're hearing now, when we talk about precognitive, we are talking about before knowing. Thank you so much there, Carl. It's a work in progress, but it is one of these goals that I really have set my heart on making happen. The reality is that if you notice the boxes over this shoulder, the ones that are over here they're all literally empty, but I've got no place else to put them for the moment. because I use them for getting rid of junk. The ones over here are actually being emptied, which is why we don't have them anymore. But, well, we've still got the boxes there on the other side. But when you've got a dream, okay, when you're hearing voices, you may be, there's a lot of things you might be hearing. Maybe telepathic. You may be literally hearing something going on. Okay, the real question that I have to look at is, if you're hearing voices, can you actually make out what they're saying? Or are you hearing just music? Okay, and in either event, it can be beneficial. The one thing that I have heard people say, okay, the one thing that some people run into is they will hear their name. And what that usually is, like, they just hear your name and you're only hearing the name. More often than not, what that is your higher self, your guides, your angel, whatever you want to call it, is finally making contact. It's finally making contact on an auditory standpoint. And again, this is one of those issues that it can mean. But every individual is different. Okay. And by the way, if the voice you're hearing does feel, if a voice you're hearing does sound like somebody that's already passed away, the odds are very good it is that somebody that passed away. And normally they won't continue. If they were talking down to you, if you had a strained relationship, more often than not, when they make contact after their passing, they're not going to continue tearing a strip off you. Usually that's a fear-based thing on your part. Okay, because once somebody passes over, they get to see exactly what they did. Overall, I was just quickly reading what's written here. Yeah, quite often that's the start of contact. But you got to remember, the people trying to make contact, first and foremost, death is not an ending. Okay, we are taught, many of us are taught from the get-go that when you die, it's over. This is not the ending. What's happening is your vehicle is running out of gas, and you gotta go get a new one. This is just another stage in life. And dreams quite often will open that door. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I've got this dream of a world where we don't have war, where we don't have famine, and where we don't have greed. And yeah, I realize that's a long shot right about now. 50,000 years ago, we had that. Okay. And I know some of you remember those times, but you think you're thinking right now they may well be dreams. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Oh, there we go. You're not at work today? That's gotta be on. But let me pull up, not that. And Nathan, this is the link to where is it? Here is the link to Nathan's show, the Quantum Show. So we copy that, we pop it in here, and again, do drop in and give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to the channel and check the daylights out of it. Yeah. That being, I'm just looking at this. Derek goes, I'm so irritated with my credit union bank. I went to deposit a certified check, and the person who wrote the check has the same bank, and they lied and said they had to, and they had to verify the check. You're absolutely right. If it's certified, it's already been verified. There's nothing they have to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, Derek, you're very right. And this is one of those things that we've got to start voicing. But you got to be careful. And I'm the last one to talk to about diplomacy. Do not talk to me about diplomatic approaches. You want to see the diplomatic approaches that usually work in my eyes? Well, the Yldrbac Chronicles might give you an idea. The fact that you're more than welcome there, Nathan. The reality of the whole situation of the modern world is we can dream about a better one. Okay. We can absolutely dream about a better world. Or we can dream about a worse world. Now, the reality of it is we have the capacity as a species to change the way things are going, but take the power of your dreams to make it happen. And I'm talking the power of the good dreams. If you're dreaming of violence and that sort of thing, this is not the thing to go and reenact. Okay. Now, I will tell you, there are a couple of places where violence works really well. Action movies, entertainment to watch them, books, okay, and yes, cartoons with, I cannot believe the number of cartoons that have been banned because they were too violent. Have you seen the video games coming out? Yeah. See, now, I take a look at that. I probably end up putting my foot in my mouth and asking the guy what kind of, whether or not he actually had a brain. Oh, Carl, I am actually working on that. That's one of those fine little programs I'm working on. That's going to be a challenge, but it is something that I do desire to put together. But no, the novels themselves are not. They are not. They are not interactive. I will be putting one together, and that's an excellent thing to put in mind here. And did I not pull that out? I need my paper. I forgot to get my pad out, which I really should have done to start with. So, this is what's called an organized office. I actually have it organized where I can walk over here and pull out what I need. But now here's a really bizarre question for you guys. We'll call this one working to order. Okay. You just hit a real cute note that's just sidetracked me completely. The idea of an interactive novel. Actually, I've got two that'll give me an idea. But in your guys' mind, how long? Yeah. In your eyes, how many pages should we look at as far as an interactive book goes? Okay, because there's a lot of ways of doing that, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and therefore I'm going to, I'm going to take that idea and run with it there, Carl. I can't tell you when I'll get it done, but I will do a short one first. Okay, simply to get it put together. But it's a great way to do it. It's one of those things that I've got a couple of those books, and they were a whole lot more entertaining than just some of the books. But the books I write right now, you sit down and read. Although I will tell you, in the Yldrbac Chronicles, there is a group of gamers. Okay, they're stuck right smack in the middle of it. And we do that. Give a few ideas. As a matter of fact, if I do it right, I can do it. There's one of two ways of doing it. Where are we here? Henry goes, I once heard a voice in my head tell me, you are the savior. It wasn't a voice I recognized, and it wasn't mine. And he goes, and then Henry goes, I'm definitely not a savior, so I disregarded it. But I can't seem to forget about it. Well, here's the one thing you got to remember there, Henry. Terry, thanks so much for joining in. Glad you could join us. At a concert scene, Kansas. Oh, nice choice. I definitely like your choice in music. But yeah, I will be on SOR later tonight. I'm seeing it come out more and more. Even the video, even YouTube is putting out videos where you get options. Now, there's a couple of things that I can do. I can either go with a die roll or with a choice. Okay. And bearing in mind I'm a gamer, it makes sense to have dice rolls. From that standpoint, like I said, I've got a couple of books around here that will tell me. I just don't know where they are offhand. Not physically visible right now, that much is clear. So I will look for them. But here's a really odd question for you. Okay. Now, there's a lot of ways of doing that. I was talking to somebody today about getting a coloring book done as well. So needless to say, my mind's gone into hyperdrive here. But the fact of the matter is, dreams are one of these things that are a very underrated tool. Whether they are helping you burn off stress because you've had a rough day, or maybe you've had a run-in, and these are just thoughts about what you could do to the person to get back. I'm telling you, revenge dreams are definitely best left in the mind. Okay. And contrary to some popular belief structures, I've talked to a few people who, if you follow their belief structure, thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it. If that were the case, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, because the number of times that I have thought about the world ending or about ending the world, and rest assured, when you read the novels, this is really an ongoing theme. But it's been thought about by countless hundreds of probably thousands of people, if not millions, over the years. And the planet is still plugging away. Okay. So, this is one of the things you got to remember. A dream is an unrealized reality. If you put effort into making that dream happen, you'll accommodate it. You'll help to co-create it. If you think about or work against it happening, then absolutely you can change the path your life is on. One thing I have noticed, more often than not, when you're dreaming about being on the street or you're dreaming about losing all of your material belongings, what this really seems to point to is you may be hanging on to past issues way more than is useful. And I'm just looking at this. Henry goes, now that I think about it, I stopped a few people from ending their lives. So maybe I am a savior. And in all fairness, give yourself a pat on the back for that. Okay? Because the reality is, if you're reaching out to help people, and sometimes saving somebody's life has nothing to do with gross intervention. Sometimes a simple smile and a hello at just the right time will snap somebody out of a bad line of thinking. Okay. But again, this is one of those things that you look at and go, what is the path I desire to walk down? What am I going after? And this is why I moved that. Where is it going? I keep forgetting. I keep having trouble figuring out how to translate it. So if I'm standing here, there we go. Pull that, we can see it easy. Right up here, I'm actually going to be putting the back panels of the books on that cover as I get them done on that wall. But where it comes to the dreams that you're having, you are football, but not a problem. The nice thing about technology is when we're done, you can absolutely go back and listen to it. Okay, but the important thing with dreams is dreams will, if you let them, guide your life to a much brighter tomorrow. Okay, it's a wonderful trip if you let it happen. But the catch is, do not put the energy into the negative side of what you're seeing. This can be very complicated and can really ruin a good day. But one of the things that I do find is if you're dreaming that you're moving very slowly, whether it's because you're running in quicksand or you're running in mud, or maybe you dream that you're on a cane. Dreaming you're on a cane does not mean you're going to have a massive accident. It may simply mean that you're still being held back, or that you're still holding yourself back from from moving forward. Dreaming about parties. Every time I've talked to somebody about it, and like I said, I'm not the person to go and say, hey, what does this specific thing mean? Because every one of the images you see is person specific. Okay. But when you're looking at parties, you're looking at celebration. Usually this is an indicator that something in the near future is coming your direction that's going to make you a whole lot happier than what you were. Okay. But we can take a dream, even a dream that is a little questionable. You can focus on the positive side of it and thereby make it happen. Okay. Which is why we've added yet another. It's not like I didn't have enough writing to do. Thank you very much for that, Joe. Actually, seriously, thank you very much for that. Where are we? We are looking at an interactive novel. Or novel and novella, I think, is probably going to be more the point. Because what I'm going to do is I will make it long enough to make it enjoyable, but short enough that it's a quick run. Okay. I will eventually put one together that's really complicated. But I take a look at it and go, okay, what are you going to do? And I can make it complicated, I can make it simple. You have to get, and this is the part I cannot gift you with. I cannot make up your mind how your life is going to evolve. I can give you all the tools in the world to make it happen. Okay, but you're the one that's going to have to get up and do it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the world's going to end and we're all going to die. Although those two statements are accurate. The world will end in several billion, perhaps trillion years, and we are all going to die. Here we are. Bethesda made a Fallout 4 based interactive novel, based on D&D, I believe. Yeah, and there's no, neat part about it is it's one of those topics, one of those genres that anybody can participate in. And like I said, where it comes to the publishing company I'm in the middle of putting together, I've already started the layout for it. I've got the layout done. And I just found out with a little bit of luck, I may get the support I'm requiring to really make things happen properly and get the right people behind the eight ball with it. Or behind the cue ball. Now, that said, if you've got a goal, and I would love to hear if you guys have a dream that you would like to see come to reality, and thereby we can start focusing on making certain that we give you the added support, the added encouragement to land on your feet and make it happen. Yeah, Carl's just written, Dojo has a halftime ritual with the Super Bowl. And I will have to take your word for that because, quite honestly there, Carl, sports are the one thing I never paid attention to. I tore my leg apart at 12 and the whole competition thing went out the window. But I do understand the fact that sports are extremely necessary for a lot of people. A lot of people live by them. What I've never really understood is why so many people scream at the TV when a goal is made. I don't think the people on the ice or on the field are actually going to hear it. But maybe you're lucky. But the reality of it is, I would love to see some of the dreams that you guys have start coming to fruition. If I can be a part of that, that's great. That's not a requirement for me. But do I feel that every single one of you has a goal, has a dream that you would like to see come to fruition, that you would like to complete? I'm absolutely convinced you do. Many of you have a story, a poem, an event that you would like to talk about or that you would like to get straightened out. Okay. Have I seen a lot over my lifetime? Yeah, pretty much. And many times what you consider dreams, I just consider a different look at reality. Okay. But I will tell you, many of the dream, like if you take a look at the dream library books, I'm gonna call them libraries, but dream encyclopedias, many of them are pretty solid. They are consistent. Okay. So I cannot tell you one is better than the next. Well, I could, I won't. Okay. I do like noises like that. But I will tell you, taking a look at your dreams in a serious fashion is is a very good idea. I will tell you that a dream about a better life depends on you. Okay. And do not get me wrong, I'm not saying it's easy to change your life around. You guys have watched for 2 years while I've cleared stuff out of the way. And some of you have. The fact of the matter is that this is the time right here, right now, for all of us to get up and say, enough is enough. Okay. This idea that war leads to a better world, to a better life, doesn't add up. Cowie, in all honesty, it really is. When you're dreaming, what you're doing is visualizing in the night. Okay, and this is why, as soon as you wake up, if you remember that you were dreaming, even if all you remember was standing on a beach looking out over the horizon, write it down. Write the date that it happened, the time you woke up. Don't worry about what time the dream was. Okay, unless the dream tells you something about the time. But write down the date it happened and the time you woke up and do it as soon as you wake up. It's advisable to have a dream journal beside your bed just in case. Okay, so you can get it written down as quick as possible. But this is what I'm talking about, the manifestation dreams. When you're talking about a wish dream, we're talking about, this is something I'd like in my world. This is something I would like to see happen. Now, of course, the question there, Cowie, and this applies to every one of you. Okay, is there anything that you've dreamed and that you've dreamt about that you've gone, gee, I'd like to have such and such happen? And yeah, football, that's very much the issue. You desire the change, make it happen. Okay, this is why I now have in my filing cabinet here, I ended up, I wanted to make sure I could do it. So, where is Len? Okay, yeah. I got up this morning. No, well, it would have been nice to really put that there, right? I got up this morning, finished off a couple of different, and these are four. Okay, finished off a couple of letters, and you'll notice for me to get organized, I literally organize them. I don't know if you can see that. I literally write them down so that I can go back into my file and find them when I require it. Neat part is football. Doesn't matter how old you are. Okay, and what I mean by that is you're still a child. You had a parent, I don't know if you still do. Hopefully you still got both your mom and dad. But every one of you is a child. Okay, and I know some people do not like that. Oh, that's why that's it. Every single person you ever meet, whether they're a vat job or not, as in maybe they were built in a laboratory, every one of you has a mother and a father. Okay, therefore you are a child. Now, the neat part about it is what that's telling you. The one thing right off the bat there, football. Oh, well, I do feel for your loss regarding your father. Okay, but the important factor from your standpoint is this. Okay, if you're, every person is a child. Doesn't matter how you relate. Humans are literally, they are a system with two genders. No matter what anybody says, genetically speaking, they are. And therefore, even if you're constructed in a lab, okay, and there are some of you out there that are, even then you have parents. You may not know who they are, okay, but that is one of these things we all have in common. As much as off-worlders dream as much as what humans do. Okay, and is what the ancient races do. By the way, animals dream, and so do plants. Okay, so yeah, they absolutely dream. I've had this same discussion with them. Bear in mind, they are all basically, when we think about it, an off-worlder is simply somebody that has a different vehicle than we do. Different capabilities, different ways of doing things. Now, I was talking to somebody the other day about the periodic table of elements. Okay, now I think it's got 118 now, but when I was in school, there was only 111, I think. Okay, but now they've got 118. I have personally seen a periodic table of elements with 250, not on Earth. Okay, but when we're looking at the whole thing of dreams, every living entity, if it has a mind, it dreams. Okay, it's funny when you think about it because they don't really have to have a well-developed mind. Well, think about it this way, football. Think about it this way. Psychics are not seen as a viable option. There's not enough consistency. And the reason for that is there's no functional way of verifying that it's working. So police rely on quantifiable evidence. Okay, they don't like, they feel, I can't speak for individuals. Okay. I can't speak for the individuals, but on the whole, police departments won't look to a psychic because there's no quantifiable way to look at it and get, if you will, the necessary paperwork, the necessary warrants and what have you, because a feeling somebody had pointed in that direction. I dealt with the FBI years ago and they shut me down. We had the location of a missing child dead to rights. Okay. But the FBI shut us down. Net result, the kid ended up dead. Now Adam's going, have you heard about the woman recently that supposedly saw a reptilian in Texas? Not personally, I haven't. But you know, when you think about it, they live down there. You know, there's a lot of off-worlders on this planet already. Okay. That there's a lot of people on this planet already. And I mean off-worlders. There's already a lot of ancient races that have resurfaced. Joe's going, okay, here's a loopy one. Last night I dreamed a wedding party I was at, and it led to a grave filled in with a Kubota tractor. Now, I don't know what a Kubota tractor is, but I can tell you this. If you're dreaming about a wedding like that, hopefully this was not somebody that you knew. You know, because the reality is, if you're dreaming of a wedding like that, the odds are that marriage is not going to end well. Okay, see, and that's the thing there, football. You know, there are some great pet psychics out there. There's some great active psychics out there. Problem is, there are so many that are absolutely useless and lead people down the very wrong path. Komodo dragons should worry you. Komodo dragons are a wonderful critter, very gentle individuals when they choose to be. But you don't want to take one off because they will happily eat you. But no, the problem with the psychic world is there's too many people, okay, that utilize that ability for, well, I believe the term is nefarious means, as in, I'll tell you what will make you keep coming back. You know, for me personally, I would rather go, here's the answer, go and deal with it. And, you know, but I won't lie to people to make them feel better. Way too many psychics do. No, Carl. Bad dreams simply are a warning more often than not. But again, you gotta remember, even in bad dreams, there's a silver lining that can be seen. And that's what you look for. You know, what happened that was bad and what is the positive outcome. Prime example, okay, is if you dream, if you're dreaming of, if you're dreaming of lost treasure, right? And at the same time, you know, you're dreaming of finding lost treasure, but you can look at that and go, oh, somebody, you know, here's treasure, it's great. But you also got to look at the other side. What are you going to do with that if it comes out? Football goes, are there monkeys loose in the... Oh, are the monkeys loose in us? Everybody has these real curiosity streaks. And if you want to call that a monkey, you absolutely can. Okay. You know, I like the way that the North American Indians put it. Okay. Yes, Carl, like a spider's web with a silver lining. You know, the North American Indians put it this way. Inside every individual, there are two wolves. One dark, one light. One is aggression and anger, and the other one is love and caring. And when asked which one will win, the North American Indians look at it and go, whichever one you feed. Okay. If you're going to focus on the negative, you will build a negative world around you. And there are times when it's very difficult to focus on the positive. Okay. This is why when I'm turning around dealing with people, I go, how do I make this happen? I'm looking at this. Adam goes, supposedly the holographic cloak, the holographic cloak the alien was wearing was glitching out. And that's what the lady noticed. You know, I always look at that. You know, I always look at that aspect. And I keep coming back to it. The whole concept that there are reptilians trying to infiltrate the world and trying to run our governments and control the mega corporations comes from the late 70s, early 80s. Okay. Do they have holographic equipment? The answer is yes. But are they out there trying to do something nefarious with it? No. The off-worlders don't require that kind of subterfuge. They really don't. If they wanted to take over the planet, the war would be over, you wouldn't even be asking about it. Okay. I have no doubt that people see them periodically. The question that you have to look at is the context. And there undoubtedly are football. See, I know for an absolute certainty, and I can't tell you whereabouts, because I just don't remember. But I do remember years ago that some of the zoos were actually broken into, and some of the wild animals were released. And there is no doubt there out and about. Plus, people bring exotic animals and bring them home as pets. Okay. And then they get too big and they let them go. And the reality is when you do that, we all of a sudden have a neat little problem. We have wild animals that are out and about. And by the way, some of the cryptids that are seen, I don't recognize that animal. Therefore, it's a cryptid. It's been seen by many people. Therefore, it's a cryptid. But here's the kicker. If somebody releases a Bengal tiger in northern Newark, okay, it's not something that's usually seen. Okay. Or up in the Colorado Rockies. It's not something that people regularly see. Therefore, they're going to question what they're looking at. I saw a big cat that wasn't brown, it was orange. That's a cryptid to some people. Well, that's unfortunate, football. I'll guarantee it's cheaper to feed the bulldog. Yeah, Joe's going. He's got another dream here that was written down pretty solidly about a group of bikers right in his driveway, shouting and revving the engines. Okay, and they were all ticked off. Well, I will tell you this. Take a look at when you had that dream, Joe. Look at what was going on. And if you look at the timing of it, you may find, I'd lay odds you'll find, if you wrote down the time and date, go back and check the news releases about a month after that dream. And I'd lay odds that what you'll find is that there was some sort of altercation that was going on, not in your driveway, but where bikers got together and started really creating a protest based on something that was taking place. What I would lay odds you did was picked up the premonition of this altercation coming up. And that's where we have this neat little chain of events. I do believe I have a problem. I do have a problem. That problem being I'm all out of water. In case you hadn't noticed, I kind of go through it a lot. Because that's a 30, to give you an idea, yes, I drink a lot of coffee, but that's a 32-ounce jar, a 32-ounce thermos. I go through 2 or 3 of these a day. Yeah, Carl just goes, I don't dream with lack of rest. I don't know what rest is anymore. You know, I mean, I went to bed last night at midnight. I was back up this morning at 2 o'clock. Just kind of a dense routine on my part, but so be it. You know, so I mean, when we're looking at dreams, I would love to see you guys come up with dreams that you're actually looking to make happen, and really put the effort into it. Like I know Nathan is going to make this speeder bike he's talking about. This is a dream of Nathan's, and I'm really happy to say I'm absolutely certain he's going to make it happen. You know, I've got a number of things on the go that are going to occur. These are dreams that I've got, and I would love to see the dreams that you guys have, you know, come to bear. By the way, I did decide on something here. Okay. And yeah, I realize it's white up here. That's okay. The other one, where'd it go? There it is. I don't know if I showed this. I think it did. This is the one. It's finished. Okay, except I got... Whoa, hang on, guys. That I definitely have to answer. Dave, how we doing? We are so. I've actually been telling the guys on my stream that we are going live tonight. Oh yeah, yeah. I told him I'm on the phone to you right now on my stream because I told him flat out I was taking this call. yo, yo. Hey guys, Dave says hi, and remember you got to drop in and see him tonight. Absolutely, Dave. Thanks. Oh, you got a whole pile of people coming in with hi. Always get a call from Dave early to make sure that we're ready for tonight. We go on, Cowie. I'm going on Spaced Out Radio at 9 p.m. tonight. And this is the link today to Dave's show. Where are we here? Copy. There we go. Pop it in here. This is the link to the show. So absolutely we will be talking, and Lord knows where the conversation is going to go. It's Dave handles it so much better than I do. Okay, he really does. And this is why I say I was really hesitant about going the route of opening the door to do that here, because I've been leaving that alone quite intentionally for the last 8 years. I haven't touched it. But it is now at a point where I'm not looking at leaving Dave's show ever unless he finally says, no, go away, I don't want you anymore. Oh, okay, Carl. Give me 10 seconds. In 3 hours from now. Okay. 3 hours down the road, whatever it is, Aaron, please tell me you can figure that one out. You know, but yeah, it's in 3 hours. Because we are 6 right now here, and it'll be 9 here. So 3, and that should put you there. Depending on course on what time it is in your end. You know, I mean, I realize it'll be 3 hours later, but if it's 1 o'clock in the morning your time right now, then 3 hours later could be in the middle of sleeping areas. Uh-oh. There it goes. Dave's a naughty boy. He made me a wrench on his channel. So I'm hoping that means he put you to work. You know, the neat part about it. Gordana, how you doing? Glad you can join us. You know, I have come to the conclusion that there are so many things I'd like to see happen in so little time realistically that it gets a little bogged down on occasion. But I would love to know what your guys' dreams are and what you would like to see come to pass. You know, and yes, that includes world peace, by the way. You know, I'm a firm believer world peace can be achieved. You know, it does mean world peace can be achieved, but it's going to require our effort. You know, but I would love to know what you guys have for goals, for dreams, for things you'd like to see change. Because I'm absolutely certain if we put our minds to it and we put our combined effort to it, we can change things in a positive fashion without causing undue chaos. Okay, and that's where people run into the problem, is they've been taught that causing change causes chaos. Okay, and that is not the way it works. You know, the one consistency in existence is change. You know, so we have to take a look at this world and go, okay, are we, you know, is this something? Oh, there you go. I take it, Carl, that means it's 5 a.m. your time right now. Say we're at 6. Yeah, that would make sense. But, you know, if we take a look at the way the world is right now, we have a choice as individuals. You can take a look at it and go, no, I'm not dealing with it, so I'm going to go to sleep and just sleep my life away. Carl goes, it's 2 a.m. now. Oh, okay. Oh, you got as bad schedules I've got. Mind you, I'm usually getting up at 2 a.m. Like I'll be we're on with Dave from 9 until 11. Okay. Which apparently means from about 5 until 7. But I'll go to bed right after that. Maybe, you know, it might be midnight, 1 o'clock, and then I'm back up at 2 or 3 in the morning. It's absolutely bizarre. You know, the nice part about it is we got people here. Well, I'm starting to track down where people are. What do we got? You know, but we've got in the stream, and you guys aren't always here at the same time, obviously. There we are. Now, Northumberland County, that's a little northwest of England, of England, or not of England, of London. There we go. Because if I recall, I think now geography is not my strongest suit. Yeah, I got to figure out their football. Something has come up that may put a kink in my getting down to Texas this year. You know, because things are just getting a little wonky. But, you know, like I'm down in Kelowna, BC, you know, in Canada, which puts me on the other side, you know, halfway across the country from Gordona. Northeast, okay. Yeah, Carl's just saying that's in Northeast England. You know, I know that's where my grandparents came from, was from England. Well, England, Wales. But I wasn't planning on it personally. Yeah. Football's going, don't cross the border when you go to El Paso. Well, I find it entertaining. I don't try and go very far. But you know, the reality of it is, no matter what type of people you're talking about, whether we are talking human, ancient race, alien, animal, doesn't matter. They're all essentially the same thing. Okay. You know, all people have similar issues. And it doesn't matter what walk of life they come from. It depends on what they have grown up with and what they believe. Now, I will tell you this. When you start looking at cartels, I had a really good client, right? I had a really good client he was a member of the Crips. And I worked with him years ago, and we got him out of the Crips without him ending up dead. There is so much fear that is being propagated. Like somebody posted today, my son told me about it. Somebody posted today that the police shot a 17-year-old kid, and that's where they left, and a few of his friends. That's where they left the information. Now, that's, in my opinion, nothing but blatant, that is just blatant fear mongering. There's no context. I have no doubt that, that it happened, but there is no context there. Now, I'm going to take a minute out here and I'm going to go get some more water before my throat seizes entirely. And we are back. Now, what did I miss? The sad part, the sad part I look at with all the shootings and what have you, is you have to look at it and go, okay, what is being propagated that is actually, what is happening? And it's not just one group of people. It is not just, one set of people going, let's make this world a mess. This is something that virtually everybody has some input into. Even myself, and I will warn you that just thinking about some of the negative things going on, if you're looking at them in the context of reality, not in the context of writing, okay, if you're transposing that information and going, I see the world is going to be a mess, and if that's what everybody's focusing on, guess what's going to happen? Okay, we can turn this around, but we've got to start working on it now. And we got to let go of the idea of it's the cartels, it's the government, it's the politicians, it's the religious people. Every single one of those groups have one thing in common that is pretty much undeniable, at least effectively. And that is every one of those groups is composed of different people. Most of them are human. Okay. And this is what we've got to look at is the similarities between people. We are taught, and it gets drilled into us from the time we're children, that you have to have money. You've got to have all the pretty baubles and all the big houses and the big cars. This is what tells you if you're wealthy. Emmy's going, I used to live in blood gang territory. Saw a lot of bodies, shooting all the time and gunshots. I'm so used to the noise I can sleep right through it. But they never bothered me and my mom. And that again, when you take a look at it, some people can walk through an area and never have a problem. I'm really happy they didn't bother you there, Emmy. Okay. Now, I do have an odd question for you, and you certainly don't have to answer if you don't want to. Did you ever talk to any of these people? Okay. Like I personally talked to members of gangs and what have you. Never had a problem with them. It was funny. I had one chap down at the skateboard park. He come up to me and he looks at me. Yeah, I mean the amount of shooting. Now, here's the question I got for you. Okay, and this is for all of you, and this is one of the things that I'm absolutely pushing for with my newsletter. Is we hear about all this, but let me ask you this: you hear all these mass shootings going on, all this terror going on. How many weddings did you hear about? How many graduation ceremonies did you hear about? Or how many football parties were held because and I mean football parties that people were having a good time at. These are the things that need to be put on the front page. These are the things you got to look at. Come to think of it, that's not a bad idea at all. But these are the things that have to be put front and center. Okay, people used to talk about the states being the problem, and here we have Carl going, children being shot in the UK, with gangs and what have you. It's just stupid at this point. So it's these things that we have to look at. And, again, I'm not one to look at the amount of violence going on. I know it goes on, and I know where it's going to lead. Okay. People are going, when is God going to come down and fix this? Or when are the aliens going to come down and straighten it out? How about this? When are we as a society going to say enough is enough? Okay. Yes, there are all kinds of legal precedents and what have you. Unfortunately, that creates part of the problem. I don't blame you there in football. I really don't. I love that one video that I saw. Speaking of the squirrel, I remember watching one video on YouTube that the squirrel, the way they described it and he designed his own death scene. It was just absolutely priceless. Yeah, Emmy's just saying, yeah, you respect them, they respect you. They respect you back. Me and my mom walked through gang party in the park, no problems. And that's because when you walk through, if you treat them the way you desire to be treated, okay, most of the time, doesn't guarantee it, but most of the time, they'll leave you alone. This is why I say, the thing there, football, where it comes to music, the one cure for depression that I found is find the fastest dance-paced music you can find. Okay, crank it as high as socially acceptable and let it run in the background. That increased vibratory rate will actually bring your spirits up and has been known to quite effectively crack depression. There are so many good things happening, and this is something, like I said, I put my foot in my mouth. I'm working. I've got the August edition almost ready to go. And that being said, yeah, Joe, that's very much the case. Depending on the neighborhood you're living in, one thing that just dawned on me: the explicit dreams you have may be coming from the locals. You may be tapping into other people's thought processes, and net result, you end up with all sorts of interesting setups. So, I mean, we've got to start looking at this and going, okay, every society, every species has the same problems. Okay, they've all gone through them. Okay, I mean, you take a look at the Sarkon. When they expanded too fast, they had their own problems, and they turned around. They turned around and had to cut part of their empire loose. They didn't have an option, but they had three different outcomes of the people left behind, which is why I say it's up to you to decide, are you going to look at your own past and replicate that, or are you going to look at the past of the things that went well and replicate that? Because I'll tell you, this little conversation, this is how quick this can change for me. I already had things laid out for the newsletter. Okay. And now I've got a brilliant wraparound on it. Because here's the thing. Okay. It is already a well-known psychological fact, tested by lots of different doctors, lots of different scientists, that you remember the first thing you read and the last thing you read. So, and this was just an instantaneous, I'm just going to change it. Okay. I'm going to look at the events that are going on around me. Okay. And go, okay, here's something positive that's going on. Put that at the front. Go through the rest of the newsletter. At the back end, have another one. Okay. So the first page of the newsletter is positive news, and the last page is. And besides that, I'm just not interested in replicating the negative. But again, guys, if you have, and especially with that in mind, I'm not worried about putting names down or anything, because quite frankly, I'm just not getting that complicated. Yeah, and Gordana goes, felt so sick at the Toronto beaches midday, had to walk so fast, left camp. Just, I'm not entirely certain what that was supposed to say, but a mile from the place, within 4 or 5 hours at the same place that we left. Oh, I see. Yeah, and Gordana, that is what you can do when you pick up an empathic issue. You can spot it usually a little bit ahead of time. Like I don't spot it that far ahead, but the fact of the matter is I don't leave the house that much. Unless we count going to the restaurant. But empathy is a brilliant little talent from that end. It can get you out of hot water in a real hurry. And the thing we have to realize is it's time that we start not asking for, quite frankly, but literally telling the news report, the news agencies, the newspapers, the radios, start telling us who's getting married. Start telling us who's having a party, who is having a party that everybody lived through. Let's talk about the things, for instance, standing in the grocery store. The other day I did this myself. I was in a lineup and I just got to the counter myself. And the lady behind me was trying to count pennies to make me and to be able to afford to buy something and a little bit of food. I'm sitting there and I just looked at the cashier and I said, look, don't argue with me. Just put her bill on my account, right, on my bill, because I wasn't buying much. I had the money, and of course the woman goes, "Oh, you can't do that." I said, "I can't. So I do it all the time." And then I turned back to the cashier. I said, like I said, don't debate with her. Just put it on my bill and be done with it. Like I said, I'm not real good at the subtle thing. I've walked into a restaurant and looked at the restaurant and gone, no, way too busy for me. What's up for that table? Bring the bill over. I'm going to pay it off. And this is just the way I operate. This is why I say, when I'm talking about charity work, I don't rely on the big charities because their overhead kills it. That's just unfortunately the reality behind it. But what do we got? Yeah, Gordana goes, I love my home, my cats, my backyard animals, friends, flowers, trees, bees, mosquitoes, etc., etc. Oh, that's the nice thing, Adam. The restaurant I go to, that's why I go to Wings in Rutland at Willow Park. Okay, but I get there at 11 o'clock in the morning when they open. And this is why I said I'm not bothering with the whole idea of, I'm not bothering with this whole idea of it being overly crowded. Because I simply go, is it really that quick? I'm just thinking here. Emmy says, so now y'all know I was a hood rat. Yeah, but you weren't a hoodlum. Myself, I usually go with what is it now? Crushed Italian red pepper. I think that's what it's called. Depends on the day we go. Of course, wings, you can get wings any day on that day. That's right at now you've come through here before. That's right in the same mall that has McDonald's. Okay. It's right there. That's Willow Park Shopping Mall is what we're talking about. And yeah, it is getting that close, isn't it? So that ought to be entertaining. But like I said, I cleared my calendar that day and just went there. There we go. Yeah. There is no way I'd be eating that football. Football's going, we get mango habanero and lemon pepper. Not going to happen. Not for me anyway. I have no doubt it's good. They do have something here that is just insane apparently that you actually have to sign a waiver for. Before they'll even bring it out to you. Oh heavens, Adam! There's two in Rutland. There's one big one. You're thinking Orchard Park. Okay. One little itty bitty question would be where you're coming. You should actually drop me a line or give me a call, and we can discuss exactly where things are. But there are actually that I'm aware of. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 malls in this city. Right off the top of my head. Yeah. Yeah. Football goes. It is muy picante. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely certain what picante means, but muy I understand. I'm presuming picante is something to the idea of, picante spice, yeah. And that is precisely why I won't touch it. I don't handle spice that well. Yeah, you should, but I'll save you the hassle. And I really, people say, oh, you shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do a lot of things I do. Where are we here? Gotta put that in there. I'll get told, oh, you should never do this. Never do that. Because people can phone you. Well, I run a business. Okay. I run a business that I consult with both personal and private. That should save the problem of looking it up. Now, do understand when you call, if I don't know who you are, don't use an answering and don't use an automated system to phone me because it doesn't kick in fast enough. I'll go, well, you got about 10 seconds to tell me who you are. Right. And I mean, I'm blunt about it. I get annoying calls all the time. Usually they're actually what is the word for it? Not fraud, but scams. I get them all the time. But for me, I have no problem hanging up the phone. I came to the conclusion I have to actually answer I actually have to answer the phone if I'm going to build the business. You know. Okay, perfect, Adam. I appreciate that. Yeah, I do. I do answer the calls. That's the easy part. Because if I don't like the call, I just hang up. It's amazing that way. And they've got this neat little function that even I know how to do, which is called block a call if they get to be a pain in the neck. But yeah, I don't have a problem with it at all there, Adam. What I do have a problem with, though, guys, is we are hitting the 2 hour mark. So, again, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. It would be really appreciated. I will be back at 9 o'clock on Spaced Out Radio. Okay. But until we meet again, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.